Hello everyone, my name is Alicia Jackson, licensed professional counselor, and welcome to my channel. Today we are reviewing Married at First Sight, Season 14, Episode 15, as they review their past lives and share their story with their significant other, their spouse. And we are doing a quick therapy review or quick therapist review on my channel. So before we get started, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, join the conversation as we are kind of diving deep into what's going on with these couples and really trying to understand what is happening in these interactions, right? And what's happening with where they are in their relationships. So let's get into it. First, we have Jasmina and Michael. You know, I guess even before I should get started, talking about the couples, I really feel like this episode comes too late in the season. This episode is always digging deep as to like what's going on with the person inside because of their their childhood and the things that they've experienced, and oftentimes the spouse hearing the story is like, oh, it makes so much sense now. And I'm like, yeah, we should have done this. I would have loved for Maths to do this episode, maybe like even right after the wedding or right after the honeymoon, just for them to get a better understanding of each other as they're trying to build their relationship. And so for Jasmina and Michael, when she's sharing her story of being abandoned and feeling neglected by her parents and her first stepmother, and having this teacher that came to show her love when she didn't feel loved, that was just a eye-opening experience, even for me, as she shared her story but not really shared her story as to what was happening with her at the beginning of the season. This makes me understand why these walls are up so high, why she's protecting herself from Michael. I've said in videos that I feel like she's not attracted to him. I still believe that. I feel like though that she does have feelings for Michael, and she's timid, she's scared, and he's also scared. As she was sharing her story, you could see him kind of like doing this like double dutch kind of thing, like he's trying, like, should I console her, should I not console her? And they went in for the hug, and I just see both of them as the same little kid. Like, they both have been through so much loss in their life, and they both have had to cope in things alone. They both have had to deal with things alone. And so it's taking them a long time to really come to each other for support, right? To really believe, one, and trust the relationship, two, really get the support from their spouse and get the intimacy that they need. The intimacy is there. Like Dr. Pepper said, they're definitely looking at each other's eyes. They're smiling. It was so beautiful to hear him say after she shared her story that he was proud of her and the person that she's become because of the things that she's experienced. And at the same time, I could see just so much timidness, between them two. And not to say that Jasmina doesn't deserve to be in a relationship with someone that she's attracted to, 100%. She definitely does. And at the same time, I see her having feelings for him emotionally. And so leaning into the physical touch, sometimes that is a part of the process, because the feelings are there. I see them. I see the feelings. And there's a part of her, I feel like, that is also very scared, as he is, but he's ready to jump in, but he's also scared because he's like, she says she doesn't really feel me in the space where to have intimacy, touch, and I don't want to break that barrier or disrespect her boundaries. And so I get that. And so they're kind of like at a stalemate. I really wish this was maybe during the pandemic, like Miles and Karen. I think that was season 11, because they both were kind of, well, Karen was more of the one who was distant, and I feel like if they had more time, they would make it. I really do. But I don't know, with both of their their circumstances, their trauma, their early abandonment and grief issues that they had, and having to grieve and cope alone, and really being hesitant to trust others. I really see this being a huge barrier in the relationship moving forward if they're not doing more work. If they were doing some individual therapy, I really would see where they could make this work. I really could. But I don't know if they're doing that outside of here. It doesn't look like it. We don't see it. So, man, I really wish Michael Jasmina could work. You know, I feel like they need more time. They're like a stew. They need to be in a crock pot just for a little bit longer to really trust the relationship. Married at First Sight really isn't the best tool or the best situation for these two people because of the trauma they've experienced. It's just not. Someone who has experienced abandonment from parents or death of multiple close family and haven't really worked through that stuff, Married at First Sight isn't it. It's not. And so that's really how I feel. Like if they were to have met maybe in a different season in their life, hey, who knows? But this is where they are. Next we have Nicky and Steve. I'm laughing at the mixtape and the song. That's what I'm laughing at. But it was nice to see, Steve's humble beginnings. It's nice to see his humble beginnings and his family and his mom, and how she really doted on Steve and gave him a safe space to develop emotionally. You see that kind of in their relationship, as he is definitely more, he's displaying more emotional intelligence in the relationship, as Noi has been conditioned really to keep her emotions bottled up and not have a safe space. And I think that's a great thing for someone to know, again, at the beginning of the marriage, so that Steve can have a better understanding of her. So she is struggling, like she's struggling on what to say and not having the language, not having even the awareness, seems like sometimes, of what she's feeling and how it's showing up for her. She is talking about, how she is struggling to maintain her independence and trying to find ways to maintain her independence. And that's a real valid concern, just for her security wise, right? And her past relationships in her childhood, as she has definitely been in situations where she was struggling. She's talking about her mother coming home from a chicken factory and all these things, only having like 2 shirts, and being made fun of at school, and all, and then moving into a relationship where she moved and compromised herself for this person, and it didn't work out. And so she likes Steve, but Steve is also in a space where he himself is kind of doing his own thing, right? He's not working, and he's freelancing, but we don't see the freelance, but he has money secured enough for them to be planning to have children in the next 2 years. So, I see where Noi is in a space where she's like, hey, can we do this in a way that's slow for her, right? So I think it was great for Dr. Pepper to be open and transparent about the fact that she lives separately from her husband, but also giving the couple the caveat that, I did have a first marriage and we did live together because we were building a family. And so that's something for you two to think about. I think that can work, right? I don't think that for this situation that is best, just because, again, this is Married at First Sight and their connection is still so new. You have to have a really firm foundation in a relationship. And so they're still building, like they're still putting the brick by brick on their foundation. And so I hope that there's open communication, even though a part of me is a little leery on if Noi's going to show up in that way, because communication is something that she's growing to do, and her voice feeling comfortable using her voice in their relationship about what that might look like. I'm curious as to how they're going to navigate this if they do not cohabitate, if they do live separately, as it seems like that's what Noi wants to do. But Steve is definitely in a place where he wants to live together. And so I think that they really need to have a serious conversation off camera. Need to have a serious conversation off camera about what they want to do or what they need to do moving forward, because her maintaining her independence is less about her social media presence and more about her emotional and financial security in the relationship. That's just what I feel is happening. And so I really feel like, again, there needs to be more conversation about what their finances are going to look like moving forward, and how is Steve going to make Noi feel more secure. He said hearing her words, hearing her story, is giving him more light on how much she needs from him. So I'm hoping that he shows up in that way. And I'm also hoping that Noi is able to communicate that need to Steve, and so that they can potentially cohabitate if that's what Noi wants to do, if that's really what she needs, because that's what I feel she needs. But there may be more. There may be more that she's needing from him, especially in maintaining her independence and like maybe figuring out for herself with a therapist what that looks like for her and how she can have independence without saying, I'm going to post on my social media because that's my page. It's like, I get it. You can still be your own person in your marriage, but at the same time, you are joining. And so everything you do, everything you do, everything you do affects your spouse. Everything you do, that's a part of marriage. And so that's a lesson, and that's something that Noi is going to have to understand. Everything you do impacts your spouse in some way, shape, or form. So there is some independence in marriage, and there's a way that she can maintain her own identity and self, and she has to see to how her actions impact him. Next, we have Katina and Olajuwon. Olajuwon almost got me this season. Olajuwon almost got me this episode. When he was talking about his concerns about the relationship, and he said, their timeline and can Katina manage school and motherhood, and then can she satisfy me while doing that? I was my light bulb went up, and I said, Olajuwon, this is the problem. This is the problem. Now, he got to Dr. Pepper. He was able to word it better. And so sometimes I feel that his brain moves faster than his words. And the way he communicates, it does not come out the way he intends it to. I'm going to give him that grace and say that. But hearing those words, I was like, okay, Olajuwon, this caveman talk is really, really fatiguing. It's fatiguing. I thought it was really, really great for Katina to say that the amount of energy that Olajuwon requires is draining. I felt it from her. I feel like he is constantly, again, needing that validation from her. And so carrying that weight of validating someone's worth all the time is a lot. It's heavy. It's so heavy. And it's really not something that a spouse is supposed to carry. He is supposed to come into the marriage with his worth intact. And so he really needs to work on how to validate himself and do some internal validation so that Katina doesn't have to carry that heavy burden in the marriage, because there's already going to be work in the marriage. And so that's really on Olajuwon to really manage within himself, to know his worth and not constantly look for validation from Katina all the time. Olajuwon and these in this rigidity. He is very, very structured. It has to be this way. This is how it's supposed to be. I'm supposed to be a husband. This is how it's supposed to be. And I just want him to, I think I've said this like so many times. Just relax. This timeline that he has in his head, and the plans of traveling, all of this. Katina can finish school in 2 years, and they can adjust and maybe have a kid in 3 to 4 years instead of 2 years. Just have a conversation, see how it goes. But he's very, very meticulous, and he's not meticulous. He's very, very structured. It's very structured. And so he talked about how his upbringing in the projects helped to fuel his passion and his thrive to do better. And I see that, and oftentimes in settings like that, it does create this very hard and harsh exterior. So I wasn't surprised to see that and hear that from Olajuwon. You see it on him. I'm really more curious about his relationship with his father and his relationship with his mother. We don't get to know that much. We didn't even get to see his letter. And Keisha at the after party talked about that. Like, hey, we didn't get to see your letter. And he broke down. He broke down about how having to be in this harsh environment, like that's really how he shaped his language. And now he's in a situation where he's in a marriage and he's having to do something different. And it's a lot. And at the same time, I do see how much he cares for Katina. I have to give Olajuwon that grace. I see how much he cares for her, you know, even in a space where he's like, hey, I really feel like if it's best for her to just live her life and follow her dreams, I'll let her go in order to do that. And getting tearful about that. And I'm just like, Olajuwon, we don't have to do that. We don't have to do that. We don't have to do that. Not if Katina doesn't want to do that. Now, if she wants to do that, that's a whole different thing. But there can be some flexibility. There's no strict plan in marriage. You you have your plan, but you adjust. You adjust. You got married at first sight. You didn't know what was happening. She didn't know. But you both want to not have kids immediately. Just relax it a little bit. That's all. That's all. I feel like Olajuwon needs to continue to monitor himself and how he talks to her, and learn to soften his speech with her. And it will help him to even soften his speech with himself. And also give him give himself some grace to be able to embrace some internal validation. I feel like his self-talk is very, very negative and when it comes to how he speaks to himself. And so to help him to even validate himself and give some grace in their flexibility in their plan and structure about how they're going to build their family and what that's going to look like for their finances. It's possible. It's possible. Tina was able to show Olajuwon her church upbringing and how that really shaped her life and her childhood. And they both talked about too how they want to raise their children in the church. And so I really feel like, again, they have some great stuff to work with. As long as Katina continues to work on and continue to use her voice in this relationship, she's going to have to do that with Olajuwon. And he needs to, do those things that we talked about earlier about working on how he talks to her and how he talks to himself, and validating himself and giving grace and letting go of this structured plan, because life happens. Life happens. Next, we have Mark and Lindsay. I really, really do not feel that they have the tools to navigate this marriage. Not at this juncture. Dr. Pepper, she tried, but she was giving promises to Mark that I don't feel are really going to help him. She talked about, well, just lean into her and come closer, draw closer to your wife, and these behaviors that you don't like are going to stop. I said, oh no, Dr. Pepper. No, they're not. No, they're not. I do feel though that there's some level of Lindsay not trusting, right? She doesn't trust her lovability. She doesn't trust her lovability. And so she is constantly looking for Mark to give that to her and not waiting for him to display it when he feels comfortable, he feels ready to do so. And their conflicts that they have make him pull back, and how she is very forward with him, right? She's very forward with him. And so she's like, I want somebody who does this and I want somebody who does that. I really feel like she wants Mark to be a different person. She doesn't want Mark to be a picky eater. He is. She wants Mark to be a morning person. He is not. She wants Mark to be an outdoorsy person. He is not. So I feel like Lindsay, on top of trusting her, the fact that she's worth love, and the fact that she has, even though she has experienced it seems like a very negative and invalidating environment when she was growing up, and so she's heard that she's too much often. And so Mark saying that just opens that wound and really activates some hurt and rejection that she has experienced during her childhood. And so that's something that Mark is going to have to work on, to use different language. And it seems like Mark doesn't often know how to get how he feels out accurately through his words. That's something that it seems like he has a hard time communicating, because he has a difficulty and conflict, and he shuts down and recoils. He doesn't know how to communicate. It seems like almost very much like Noi, right? He doesn't know how to say what he needs to say and how he means to say it. He just kind of, he's like, it comes out, but it comes out in a way that isn't mindful of Lindsay's feelings. That's a real thing. It's not being mindful of Lindsay's feelings. And because Lindsay is a sensitive person, and that's not a dig, it's a reality. Some people are sensitive, and that's okay. But like, Mark has to be more careful and mindful of his language with Lindsay if they're going to make this relationship work. I just don't feel like Mark has the tools to do so. This is another couple that feel like needs some. This is another couple I feel that needs some individual therapy in order to work on how they are showing up in this marriage, and also to communicate what they need from each other. Because whenever Mark does one thing, Lindsay's like, I got my wall up and I'm done. And that's going to put, Mark is going to, he's already become numb to it. He's already become numb to the I'm done, the walls up that Lindsay does. And that's going to make him recoil even more, and not come towards her, which she really wants him to do. She really wants him to do. So Lindsay has to determine if Mark is really who she wants. It seems like he's not. It's like she wants somebody who makes more money. It seems like she wants somebody who is more adventurous, more outdoorsy, more has more of a palate. All right, but Mark is Mark. He has some, redeeming qualities. He's there for her. Both of them, they show up in times of crisis, right? Last week for her, she was sick and needed to go to emergency, and dehydrated, and really dehydrated. This week for him, his cat had to be put down. And so they both show up in moments for crisis. But in everyday life, they really need to work on truly getting to know each other's story a little bit more. Both of them have had some very strained relationships with their mothers, and Mark's mother being depressed, and Lindsay talked about the rejection of her mother, and Mark feeling alone because his father's passed, and he's looking for someone to kind of step into his mother's shoes. Lindsay's definitely a nurturer, because oftentimes what happens is you tend to give what you didn't get, right? So like, I'm going to nurture because I wasn't nurtured, right? And so she shows up as a caregiver, but in a way though, and we talked about this last week, where there's there's an expectation attached to that caregiving that she provides for the people that she's in a relationship with. So again, I don't really see that this couple has the tools to navigate all the things that they're going through in their marriage without individual therapy and really working on unburdening their inner child and speaking to their inner child while they're connecting with each other. So that's that. We'll continue to see. We're moving closer and closer to decision day. And so we will find out who stays together and who gets a divorce. You let me know. Of course, like the video, comment below. Tell me what you think about these couples. And subscribe to the channel. And as always, be cool, be calm, be centered.